Late Night Lori coming to you a little later than intended again. That seems to be my MO this week. I think I've been after quite a bit after 11 o'clock every night this week. Maybe I can redeem myself tomorrow or Friday. We'll see. Let me get my other device up so I can see if anybody's joining me and try to watch the comments. So welcome. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States, coming to you from Wisconsin. And it's Wednesday, June 4th. So I'm going to try to do kind of a simple card. I'm going to basically take a look at this Florals in Bloom suite. And I am just going to use the stamp set, not the dies. And I'm going to use some of the paper. So this suite starts on page 40, and let me open up my book here. Starts on page 40, has a bunch of samples, and it goes through page 47. So there's a lot that you can work on in here. I showed this one last night. I think I lose track of time. But we're going to kind of case the catalog here. So I'm going to keep this handy so we can kind of take a peek at it. Get rid of that Post-it note because we don't need it. And I'm not going to do a whole lot of stamping, but this is one that I created before the Midwest demonstrator event in Hobart that I went to May 2nd, I think it was. Because this was a pre-order, excuse me, this was a pre-order item I had available. So I think I showed this. I don't remember if I showed how to make it, but I may have. So I'm kind of working off of these products. I'll get that out of the way. But I thought what I would do is, rather than follow the color scheme that's in the catalog, I am going to use some of our old favorite colors in colors. Now that we have a new set of colors, we kind of forget the old ones, you know, and I've had that happen where, okay, we've got some in colors and maybe I haven't been using them for, you know, the first year that they were available because something, you know, you have an old favorite. But these new colors I've been working a lot with, the new in colors. So the Secret Sea, the Cloud Cover, Darling Duckling, Timid Tiger, and Strawberry Slush. Well, this is Petunia Pop, and this has one more year to go. So I thought I would do my card base with Petunia Pop. And we have these embossing folders. Now these are not 3D embossing folders, so when you run them through your machine, you only need the platform and the two number 3 plates to sandwich your piece, your cardstock, basically. So what I did was I ran my cardstock through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine like so, because I wanted kind of a border, but I want it on my base, on my card base. I didn't want to create a whole a separate piece, although I certainly could. It wouldn't be a bad thing. But I ran this through my machine going sideways. Now remember, I usually tell you to put the fold in first. Well, you can run them sideways, just don't crank it super hard so it breaks over the spine. But that's what I did here. I ran this one through sideways, and I thought, well, here's what I did. So that one turned out really pretty. Although you can see, well, you probably can't on camera, but there is a little line here and a little line here from the edges of the embossing folder. All right, and this is going to show on the inside of my card. All right, which I'm really not too worried about. I'm fine with that. Let me just burnish this. All right, so that will be a card base. But I also wanted to do it with this other embossing folder because this is a 2-pack. So you get both of these embossing folders. So this one is called Glass and this one is Gardens. So it's Glass and Gardens embossing folders. So I'm going to go ahead and run this one through kind of the same way. And we'll see how this one looks. This time when I run it through, and I'm lining up this line here on the embossing folder so that I have it hopefully straight. I'll get my machine out and we'll see how it goes. All right, so Bossy Bessie to the rescue. So I need my platform, and if you look at the platform, it shows that when you're using embossing folders, if you've got a standard embossing folder, these are standard ones, they're thinner. You need the base plate, which is number 1, and then the 2 cutting plates, which are number 3. If it was a 3D folder, then I would just use the base and number 4 plate. All right, so I don't need the shim for this one. I need 1 cutting plate and 2 cutting plates. All right, so what we're going to do here is put this back in so it's kind of lined up here where I want it. I'm going to have part of it close to that score line and then the other edge I'm going to try to line up with that marking at the bottom. We're going to run it through here, and what I'm going to do is when I offset my plate, I'm going to put this edge over the edge of that plate, and we'll see if I can minimize that mark that went through the first time where you could see the edge of my embossing folder. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So that you can see it still a little bit, but that looks pretty cool too. We'll have to see which one looks better. Let me get these things out of the way. And let's go ahead and burnish this one. I'm going to burnish that one from the back. Except that I'm a little crooked here. Because I didn't want to disrupt the design on the front, but I guess it'll be okay. It'll have to be, because that's what it is. All right. I'm going to get a little pellet cough drop because I can feel my throat's a little dry. I was outside today, so I think it's more allergies than anything else. Because I feel fine, my throat's just dry. So let's go ahead and put that out of the way. And what I thought I would do is use these flowers. So I'm going to fussy cut just one of them for now. You probably don't want to waste your time watching me fussy cut. I'm not a big fussy cutting fan, but every once in a while you need to fussy cut. And all I do with that is I kind of hold my scissors in one place and move the paper. And I like to leave a border because then it's a little forgiving, but it leaves your whole design then intact. And I'm just not much of a fussy cutting fan because I feel like it takes me a long time. I watch some people fussy cut and it's like they can just whiz right through it. And that is not me. So I'm more of a die cut person. But this one didn't have a die. And if you're one of those people who maybe you haven't been stamping a long time, or you don't have a whole lot of storage space and you don't have all of the things, fussy cutting would be your option then, if you don't want to purchase the dies. But I can tell you right now, there's a sweet deal on sweets. So if you buy one at regular price, you can get another sweet for 50% off. Or you can get sweet products for 50% off. But you have to be careful because you might not save a whole lot if one of your sweet products happens to be embellishments or a ribbon. Then you're only going to save a few dollars. So if you have a couple of sweets that you're interested in, put the sweets in your cart and save the smaller items for a separate order so that you can save more money. I'll probably end up using this one for my second card, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. And I probably should have a leaf, huh? I might need a leaf to go with my little rose here. I'm just going to do one. I can always cut more later, but if I cut one, at least you kind of get the idea of what is in my mind's eye, because I did not mock up this card ahead of time again, so we're just kind of winging it with the inspiration from the catalog. So we'll see how it goes. All right, whoops, we'll put that here, and I'll get another leaf from another piece of designer series paper. So this paper is the Florals in Bloom that I'm using, and this will be, I think we'll take this little leaf here for this other flower. I'll just get it cut out roughly here for that one. And I can get these things out of the way too. Messy stamper, putsy stamper. And then I can't get this stuff back in the package. There we go. So I'll try to get rid of the clutter. All right, so here's for this one. Here's for this one. The next thing I'm going to do is stamp with Bloom. And we'll see how it works out. And I have a little bit of Versamark on here because I find that I get a better impression when I have my Versamark. And I don't want to do my sentiment in black, and I don't really want to do it in Petunia Pop. So if I look at the back of my Petunia Pop where I've got my Color Coach resource, Blackberry Bliss is one of the colors that is one of my favorites. I'm going to go get that ink. I didn't grab that one. Sometimes I think I need to have my inks right by my desk, my crafting desk, but then they're not available when I need them for a class that I have. So let's go ahead and ink this up. That looks pretty solid. It's the beauty of being able to use the photopolymer stamps because you can see right through them. And I'm not pressing super hard because I don't want to distort the image, but I am giving it some pressure, and I'm holding it against the paper so that, I'll need this one more time, so that the ink can soak in a little bit. All right, hopefully this will turn out nice. That turned out pretty good. It's a little light over here, but I feel if I put it back on here, I might mess it up. That'll be fine. I got a little more ink on there. All right, and then we're going to stamp on here, Let Joy Bloom. Now this would be, for me, it's slightly crooked, but it'll be all right. For me, this might be a baby card. We'll see. All right. So then what I want to do, let's get rid of this. What I want to do is trim this down. And I'm going to get it pretty close to the channel here, I think. So that I've got about the same edge here as I have up here. And then let's see, this is about 1.5. So let's do another piece at 2 inches. And I'm going to do that in Blackberry Bliss. That I did get ahead of time. And I'm going to make this go, I think I've got this at 4 1/4. I don't. So this I've got at 4. So let's go ahead and make this 4 1/4. Just take a little smidge off of there. I think that at one point had been a card base. All right, and this, actually I don't know that I like it with a border all the way around. I'm going to cut another 1/4 inch off of that. Because I think I want them to be flush. So let's take a look. I can always go back and change it if I want. But I think I like that better. All right. So sometimes even when I've put a new blade on my trimmer, I get some like frayed edges. And I don't know if it's the paper now, because I know Stampin' Up! Has gone to a different paper mill. And it's been a challenge because not all of the paper mills are able to do the dyed paper. So let's go ahead and glue this on. And I don't need a lot of glue, but I do like to put it all over my piece, just a nice thin line of glue. So we're going to try to have this centered pretty close. I think that looks pretty good. Take it down just a little bit. And I'm trying to use my grid lines here to line it up a little bit. So I've got my bottom line lined up here and then this grid line for my bottom piece. So I think that'll be all right. And I'm just going to trim off just a little bit of fray that I see. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this here. And then I could have stamped the flowers on here. And in fact, I did have some flowers out. They're 2-step stamping, but this embossing folder looks like roses to me. And I didn't really like how that looked here. So these stamps actually kind of make not really a daisy, but not a rose. So that's why I decided to fussy cut the flower here. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the top of this leaf. And then I'm going to attach that to the rose. Let's just lay that down there like so. And then we'll put some dimensionals on there. And I'll put one dimensional so it holds the leaf onto the flower, and then just another dimensional for the flower itself. And I'm going to glue this flush rather than putting it up on dimensionals, since these are going to be on dimensionals. I don't want there to be too much lift, so I'm going to go ahead and just glue this down. And I'm going to do it a little closer to the edge. I think maybe I'll do it flush with that edge. And then we can put our flower on. And I think I need to move that in just a little bit. It looks like it's going to overhang. There we go. I don't want it to go further. I don't want it to extend past the line of the card that it'll stick out of the envelope. And then I've got these Strawberry Slush and Pretty in Pink Gems. Not that I'm using either one of those colors, but the nice thing about these, let me get my Take Your Pick tool. The nice thing about these is when you put them onto the paper, they pick up the color because they're actually clear with that little bit of glitter in there. So I think I'm actually going to use the medium ones where they're pretty in pink. These are mostly clear with just like the gold glitter on there. But I kind of like this medium tone one. So there's 3. I think that's probably enough. And then I think what I'll do is make it a little bit better by putting some Wink of Stella on the flower. So I'll do the center and then I'll just highlight some of the edges because I kind of like a little bit of glimmer. All right, so you probably can't see the Wink of Stella. You might be able to. It's hard to tell on the camera. But, so that's the one card. All right, so that's with the glass embossing folder. Let's just take a minute maybe and see if we can do another one with the roses, and we'll just see how it looks. So let's go ahead and get the, maybe I should do that one in Petunia Pop and see what it looks like. Might like it better. Just clean this off with my chamois. And when you're using any of the like the red based inks, your stamp is going to get stained, but that doesn't affect how it stamps. It'll still stamp nicely. So let's go ahead and ink this puppy up. And it looks like I squished too hard. This is pretty wet, so we'll see how this turns out. That looks really messy. Let's see how it looks. I might not want this. I should have probably put some more Versamark on my stamp. Yeah, I don't like how that looks. Let's do another one. Let me clean this off better. I'm lucky enough to have a sink in my crafting area. So let's put a little Versamark on there and see if that makes a difference. It made it look nicer with the Blackberry Bliss. All right, let's try this again. And I think I have a little bit of lint on here now from my towel, trying to get this dry. Yep, a little bit of lint. All right, one more run with the chamois. Some days it's just a struggle. But now I have the lint off. Because the lint will definitely, even though it's just small strands, the lint can leave very noticeable marks. All right, so we'll just let that get a little sticky. The Versamark is a slow drying ink. That already looks better there. So let's see how this looks this time. Maybe it looks blotchy still to me. I think my ink pad is probably too juicy. Sometimes that happens if your stamp has too much ink on it. It gets blotchy. So let's see if I can find, I have a spoon that I use. Let me grab a new one. Sometimes what helps is to push the ink around on the pad so that it's not as heavily inked where you want to work. So So let's try this again. It looks like it's still going to be a little blotchy. That actually looks pretty good. So that helped a little bit. So all I'm going to do here is just push some of it back into the center. This ink pad is obviously very juicy. But that's how you can solve that problem. All right, and then, whoops, I guess I still need that. We'll do the Let Joy Bloom again. Now we can close that down and get this out of the way. We'll trim this up. Not quite to 4 inches. And then we'll just take a smidge off of here too. Maybe about a 1/16 of an inch. Just so it's about the same at the top and the bottom. And we need another piece of the Blackberry Bliss. So this is 1.5. So we'll go up to 1 3/4. And then let's see here. I want it flush. So we'll go right to there and slice that off. All right, let's see how this looks. I'll do the same thing here. So if we put this here, I kind of like it with the lighter ink. So that can go there. We'll pretend I have these cut out. Those would go there. And some more embellishments. So we'll put like another one up here. A couple more down here. And we're done. All right, so 2 cards, pretty quickly done. Casing the catalog, here's what I used for my inspiration. Changed up the color scheme. So this is the one that's not put together. This is the one that is. So this is the Glass and Gardens embossing folder, kind of that I featured more than anything else, I guess. The Designer Series paper is the Florals in Bloom. And the stamp set is the Sweet Blooms. So that's the Let Joy Bloom. All right. So what do you think? Do you like it better with the Petunia Pop sentiment or the Blackberry Bliss sentiment? Let me know what you think. That's all I have for you tonight. So until next time, happy crafting.